welcome back to another video, guys, and thank you once again for joining me. In this week's video we're going to take a look at how I set up my hammock. Obviously, to set up our hammock we're going to need a set of trees. So I've got this Scots pine here to my right, and I've got this sycamore here to my left. Completely different diameters, but it doesn't really matter. The key thing with our hammocks is our distance between the trees. So I think it's about 6 paces for my, 4 steps. 4 of my paces, my steps, not my pacing paces, but my just like straight paces, fits my hammock really perfectly. I know for a fact that it fits here because I've used it here before. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to take our hammock out of the bag. We're going to have to tie one end to our tree to start with, and then we'll be able to tension to our other one. So we're going to tie our fixed end here to that tree. In fact, we're going to tie it to the sycamore. So let's go ahead and do that. So this is obviously our smaller tree in this scenario. So what we need to do is go ahead and take our hammock out the bag. Now, I'm using the DD Travel Hammock here, which is effectively the same as the frontline hammock that DD offers, a very popular one. And right on the top, now I have added some things to this, but right on the top is our first set of lines. So we're going to drop the hammock to the ground, and I have tied this using the same way I tie up cordage, which I'll leave a link up in the corner to the video I did on cordage, and I showed in that video how I hang up cordage. Did the same thing with the lines here, so they pop right out. So what I'm going to tie at this end is, now when I do my hammocks, I do them very simply, and all I do is basically an overhand knot. So I take my 2 lines, split them apart, take it round the tree at about chest height, cross them over, and I'll show you this closer up here in a second. Come back to the front. On a small tree you can cross them over again, take them back round to the back of the tree, cross them over one more time, and then tie them in a bow like you would your shoelaces. And then I tend to double knot it, but we'll do that in a minute. So I'm just going to do this a little bit lower down here. So this is much lower than it should be tied in terms of actually suspending the hammock, but in order to show you, this is where it's going to be. So just take you back a little bit here. So again, our hammock is going to live on that side of the tree, on this side here. So I take my lines around the tree, leaving at least probably about a foot of slack. I cross them over, and then I actually twist them around one another once, just like you would do in your shoelace, and pull that tight. I then take it back to the front side, or the side where the hammock's going to be, and I do the same. And then I take it back to the back here, and I tie it off. And to tie it off, all I do is put it in once, put it in twice, pull tight. So that's just like a double of what we've been doing. Make a loop in my right hand, or a bite in my right hand, twist the left one round it twice, push through the other loop just like I'm tying a shoelace, pull it tight, and there we go. And then once I'm ready to secure it at the end, I would then go ahead and double knot that. Now at our other end here, I'm basically going to do the exact same thing, except this time we're actually going to be trying to pull it tight at the same time, and this will need some adjustment later on, and I might need to loosen off that end to get a bit more slack at this end. But I'm effectively going to do the same thing at about the same height, so about chest height. And the lines don't get tangled. Come around the tree about chest height, cross them over once, pull it tight. Now you want the hammock itself, and I know you can't see it right now, but you want the hammock itself to be a little bit tight in the middle there, of course. And I don't have enough this time to do the full thing, so I'm just going to secure it on the front and tie our loops, and that is going to be more than secure enough there. And then we'll just go and have a look, and maybe need to adjust the hammock myself or at the other end. So what you can now see is our hammock here between our two trees, and you can see it's much closer to this tree than that tree. And that may be a problem, it may not be, it kind of depends. But what I tend to do, now I've got the DD hammock sock here on, which really keeps it nice and dry and that when you're pitching it. But what it does also allow us to do is just do a test sit here. And it allows us to just sit in our hammock without it being opened. And this is actually showing me we could take it up slightly higher, because we kind of want it to be that when we're sitting, it's a natural sitting position, but by no means would this cause me any problems. So what I'm just going to do is pull out some slack, loosen out some slack at that side, and then tighten it up to that end, and then we'll secure it in final place. This seems really high, but when I sit in it and it shrinks down, we're at a nice comfortable sitting position. What I'm going to do is I'm going to undo, or I'm going to take our hammock sock here and loosen it off at one end, and I'm just going to slide it off the hammock down to the other end. Which end it goes to doesn't really matter. You might need to loosen it off at the other end as well, and just shuffle it off. It's a little bit fiddly sometimes, but it works really well. The hammock sock really helps keep the hammock neat and tidy when you're putting it away and setting it up as well. Keeps it off the wet ground and all that. And then once the hammock sock's off, tighten that back down. So now we've got the body of our hammock. Now what I have is I have some carabiners here that I use to clip the two sides together, which we can then open up. And I then connect these to a piece of bungee cord on here, which I will come back to in a minute. So again, carabiner comes off of that and gets connected to this instead. Now, so what's this for? You might be asking. Well, normally I'd either have my tarp ridge line or an additional ridge line here, and this would get clipped to prusik knots on that ridge line, and that suspends the bug net here of the hammock. And there's even some poles for this hammock that they go in. Now I don't have that ridge line today, and I don't have that capability with that ridge line today, so we're just going to use it without it, and it will work just fine. So all we can do then, or what we can do now, is open up. In fact, we don't need to open up the bug net. What we can do is just flip the hammock, and this will still work. Flip the hammock round and use it upside down as a hammock without a bug net. So then all we have to do to get into our hammock is come to the middle of it. With one hand, I tend to use my right hand, push it back. The other hand pushes down. Try and fit into the middle of the hammock, and then you're in. And it is a lovely experience. And you can sit, you can look up into the canopy or look around. You can use hammocks, if you set them up right, as a seat as well. Now, I'm not fully setting my hammock up today, as you can tell. I've not got the extra ridge lines to suspend the bug net. I've not got my tarp up, at least not yet. So of course you might be thinking, is that all you would do if you were sleeping in it? And of course it's not. If I was then going to be sleeping in this hammock, I'd be putting into it some form of insulation, in terms of probably a foil roll mat, just to provide that little bit of insulation, and then of course some kind of warmth layer, generally in my case in terms of a sleeping bag. If of course you do have the more hammock specific kit of an under blanket or an under quilt and a top quilt. Of course the top quilts are now becoming popular in tents as well now, but personally I'm just using a sleeping bag, and I prefer a sleeping bag, and that's typically what I would use in a hammock. I would like to eventually get the under blanket and that kind of things going, but I might wait until I've upgraded my hammock to something a little bit more substantial. I don't tend to camp in my hammock that much. I want to camp a little bit more though, and yeah. So what I think I'll do, I'll relax here for a bit, might talk back to the camera for a little bit of time, and then we'll kind of wrap the video up there. So now here we are, just relaxing here in the hammock, just enjoying this lovely forest. It actually looks a lot darker on the camera for once than it does in real life. It's kind of the opposite now. The clocks changed on Sunday night past, or the clocks of a couple of days ago changed now. So here in the British Isles, we now have daylight quite a bit later, which is really nice. So I can come out and film things like this. But yeah, just this is one of my favourite experiences and things to do here in the outdoors, is to just set up a hammock and chill. And of course, with it being quite a nice evening here, lots of bird noise, lots of noise kicking about, got the river in the background, and yeah, it's just a really lovely experience to have on a Tuesday night. So that's gonna about do it for this video, guys. In case you're wondering how I put my hammock away, basically completely opposite of the way I put it up, and it's as simple as that. I don't think I need to show you. So that's gonna do it for this one, guys. Hopefully this helped you maybe figure out maybe a way of putting your hammock up, or just you enjoyed it either way. That's now, as I say that the weather is starting to get nicer and that we're getting more daylight, I'll be able to get longer and higher quality videos back out for you guys. So please do stay tuned if you like them. So this one, guys, please leave a like down below, and if you're new here, please do consider subscribing as well. The support is much appreciated. Leave a comment whilst you're down there, and until next time, bye for now.